So we're going to do a little bit more with Mr. B. So what I would like to work on a little bit is working some of those, maybe some puppy push-ups for a few moments. So puppy push-ups, again, you don't have to do so many that your puppy wants to give up, but I'd recommend to rotate through your sits, downs, and stands or ups, whichever you want to call for standing up, and get your puppy to rotate through them so it's not always the same pattern. If, for example, we always do, for example, sit down, stand, and you start to only feed for one out of the three different things, your puppy may not realize what each individual skill is, and they might start to clump them and think it's one big section of information, and they think the whole three together equals one behavior. So for example, with Mr. B, ready, Bodie? We'll feed him for some of this lovely check-in right here. Gorgeous. And then we got some noises again from the building. I don't know, some sort of rattly machinery. That's funny. So let's say we're going to bring Mr. B over here so everybody can see him a little bit better. I'm going to go into, from a standing position, I'm going to lower him, put the food between his front legs, and get that gorgeous down. From here, if you're looking for a standing position or an up, yes. Think about in the beginning, you're luring your puppy, so helping them gain the behavior skill by using the food to help it happen. As they become more fluid, like right here, I'm just going to capture that very nice little sit, even though I didn't ask for it. But view every little skill or behavior as, again, having that bank account, and we're constantly adding deposits of reinforcements that he finds reinforcing to make that behavior happen again much more readily and much more fluid into adulthood down the road. The two boys are wrestling and crashing into fences. So Bodie says that looks really intriguing. So I might go, Bodie, yes, what a smart man. I love his little meandering walk that he has. So ready, Bodie? So we're going to go right from here, and we're going to work, again, a couple little puppy push-ups. So remember, use your food in the beginning, bring it up and above the puppy's head to create a gorgeous little sitting position. If you're finding that you're saying, and I'm just going to grab a cough drop because I feel like my allergies have been a bit grumpy. So I promise I'm not eating dog snacks, though it does seem very similar. Ready, Bodie? So right there, get his attention, feed for that. Then if, let's say, he's getting a little bit tired, I'm going to sort of go right to him and help him come back to where I wanted him, as opposed to me saying over and over and having him not do so well. He says, I forgot to chew that last one. So let's say from a sitting position, we're going to lower him into the down and feed. So as he gets more fluid, you would fade out the food being in your hand, and you would start to get these behaviors. So if you find you keep repeating yourselves with your cues, like you keep saying sit 15 times, I would say nothing. And for right now, practice just having your puppy work their body and moving from one position to another. So we're making that sit, and then yes to feed. And then from here, we go into a down, yes. So I would mark the behaviors so that way your puppies start to realize this is why I'm getting this paycheck, so they can get really good at understanding the moment they did the skill, and that's what gave them their reinforcement. So right here, we might lure him into a stand, and these are looking really pretty. So working a few puppy push-ups could be another great way to physically and mentally get him a little tired while also building in some of these newer skills. I know he says, I'm very distracted by my cool friends wrestling. So ready, Bodie? Yes, such a good boy. He's like, I'm making it over there. Slow and steady wins the race. Good job. So maybe let's say my puppy is a wiggly worm and we want to try practicing a little bit with being stationary. Ready? I don't have his target mat, but I might want to try and see if I can get him to work a little bit with staying in a spot and feed that rep a few times. Bodie says, I want to wrestle with those crazy men. Oh my goodness, they're really good at crashing. Bodie, nice. So too, if let's say he was really distracted, when I go to feed him, I might even feed by pushing, started moving the food away. So that way we're creating some distance. So that's where those find its can be helpful. So right here, we might tell him to, again, we'll try for that down. Yes. And then what I'm going to try to do is work a little bit with this down duration. So if it's easier to be near your puppy, these men are crazy with their WrestleMania. They're doing a really nice job, but they sure do love to crash into the fencing so they can make a few extra noises while we're practicing. So right here, I didn't tell him to stay, but what I'm doing is building up some duration in being in a down position. So I know we discussed this a little bit with some of the other previous boys, but for a lot of puppies, being stationary might seem like the silliest idea ever. So practicing a little bit with just hanging out and letting the world pass you by as you're either working on a chew item, a lick item, or being reinforced for being stationary, you can start to build up value in sometimes taking a break or pausing and relaxing. Because for a lot of puppies, if they're always go, 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 we tend to forget how to teach them how to just be and how to relax. Nice. Oh, he's so tired. He's doing a really, really good job. What a smart boy. So, but then you could be like all done and we'd get up and we could wiggle. So even though I didn't necessarily say my stay exercise, he was then being fed for being stationary. What a smart boy. So let's say he was doing a really nice job with maybe that lovely, down stay for the starting beginning stages of it. We could go into a little stay, and now I might try a little bit with my sit stay. So I would only say the cue word once. If he's going to relax into a down, no big deal. So I don't really mind if he does better in a down stay, especially towards the end of his practice where he's tired. If you find he does even better in a down stay, start there. So if he's doing okay being fed directly to his face, so what I mean by that is he doesn't jump up to meet you, then you could feed him directly for holding this down sort of stay position. If though he's starting to try to meet you halfway by jumping up to reach the food, I'd recommend to feed between his little front legs. So that way the food is coming from down below versus coming from above, and he's trying to reach that. So right here, we feed again for being right there. The two boys are too funny together. Did you get the hiccups again? This poor little monkey, every once in a while he gets hiccups, which is so typical for the puppies. So don't worry, there's something wrong with him. So right here, yes. So he's even starting to be able to relax as two other pupperoos off in the distance are wrestling. So, but remember, we're not forcing this on him. So if he was feeling frazzled or too distracted, if I kept saying over and over, stay down, no, I'm probably going to ruin my stay for later. So make sure it's attainable, it's comfortable, it's non-threatening, and it's not always paired with something hard or scary. He says, good night, lady. So Mr. B, though, is doing such a great job with a lot of his little skill sets. And two, even though you're not necessarily always working a skill in the sense of recall or look at me or whatever it might be, he is still learning that coming to a new environment is safe and comfortable. Seeing other dog friends does not always equal WrestleMania and vice versa for the men as well. And so these are all really great life skills for him to have. And all this experience with novelty and noises while still feeling safe is a great way to build in this foundation for future success. So remember that if puppies don't get a lot of really comfortable but easy experiences, this does not mean intimacy with things. So a lot of folks think, oh, my puppy has to play with every single new dog or every single person has to touch them. The problem with that dynamic is now you're actually setting up your puppy to have unrealistic expectations and think that every new person, thing, or inanimate object is something they could become intimate with or go explore. And that's where you later create a puppy that has a lot of frustration or anxiety about situations because maybe, let's say, little kids love puppies and you let little kids come over to visit your puppy, even though your puppy may have said I'm a little bit overwhelmed, and you let it keep happening. Your puppy, as they mature, will start to view children as there's no escape and now they're dangerous. So remember, your experiences should still have your puppy's consent involved. So just because they're cute, these wild monsters, just because they're cute does not mean they're on display for everybody to come touch or caress or go ahead and try to become BFFs with, because maybe that puppy is needing to work on not every single time do we see a person, do we engage with them. So feel free. You're like, good, we'll just dump this bucket too. Might as well have fun. But you want to view it from your puppy's perspective. Is it a situation where your puppy would enjoy the setup? If it's more to make someone else feel happy that they got to say hi to a puppy, then that's not really healthy for the puppy. So make sure that there is this two-way street where they're part of the exposure, not just something being done to them. It's things that are happening with them. So they're part of the dynamic. But Mr. B really did a stellar job again today. Remember too, guys, with the beauties, I know a few friends have already registered for another program. There is the structured play, which involves playtime with breaks and other things to work on, but it doesn't have the video content like the Doggy Day School does. So feel free, if you're taking a break, we've got some good machinery again. So they could, for example, take a break. Sorry about the noise. Bodie, nice job. He's like, that's funny. So we'll go right into a little find it there with some wonderful loud noises. The other two boys are like, what the heck? We were mid-wrestle and the world's crashing and ending. So right here, yes, nice job. So real world situations, I guess, happen everywhere. But you want to make sure that with novelty, we don't force it. So obviously, yeah, I can't really make my neighbor quieter, but I would make it where maybe throughout this funny noise, we do a couple find its. We do some playtime. So maybe, for example, he could be a little unsure and we could go into some play again. So ready? Bodie. Oh, so now funny, weird noises equal, we could play a little bit with our tuggy toy. We could do some biting and grabbing and wrestling. So now Mr. B doesn't find weird noises in the building to equal, oh my gosh, or what do we do? So right here, now it's a little bit quieter, so that's exciting. And we could do a little bit of play. He's like, that is very intriguing. Good job. So again, he's not too fazed by it, which is splendid. The other two boys are kind of like, that's interesting. But they were doing so much great play that now these little noises could equal, we could still play with a friend and nothing too dangerous or scary has happened. So, but the beauties are doing a gorgeous job. I know they have one more week to go. So we'll sort of, again, keep rocking and rolling with our beautiful men and we'll give him a little breather. But Mr. B did such a good job. We'll let him play with his toy and we'll rotate through some more fun again.